and we saw some simple applications of that. We will see some more applications of this theorem today. What we are going to do is, we are going to discuss behavior of a function by looking at its properties, namely if it is differentiable, and if we have some information about the derivative, does it give us some information about the function? If yes, what is this we can say about the function? So we'll start looking at very simple properties. First of all, if you recall, we defined what is called a function to be monotone, a monotonically increasing or a decreasing function. We want to analyze that if we have some more information about the derivative of the function. And the theorem says the following: supposing f is a differentiable function with the properties that the derivative, first derivative exists, the function is given to be differentiable, the function is given to be differentiable and the derivative is non-negative at all points in the interval AB, in the open interval AB. So we are given a condition that we have knowledge about the derivative of the function. It is bigger than or equal to 0 at all points in the interval AB. It says this is possible if and only if the function is increasing. If the derivative is bigger than or equal to 0, then the function is increasing. And similarly, if the derivative is less than or equal to 0, it at all points in the open interval AB, then it is decreasing. If and only if, keep in mind, this is a if and only if statement. Just if f, the derivative is strictly positive, then the function is strictly increasing. Here it is, if it is bigger than or equal to 0, if and only if f is increasing. But if you have some more knowledge, namely the derivative is everywhere strictly positive, then we can deduce that the function is strictly increasing. And similarly, if derivative is strictly negative, then the function is strictly decreasing. So let us prove these theorems. So first of all, we are given that the derivative is bigger than or equal to 0 at all points. We are given some property about the derivative and we want to deduce a property about the function, and something that relates the values of the function with the derivative is Lagrange's mean value theorem, right? Lagrange's mean value theorem says if f is a function in an interval AB, right, with the appropriate conditions being satisfied, then there is a point C in the interval AB such that fb minus f of a divided by b minus a is equal to f prime at C. So it relates the values of the function fb and fa with the value at some point of the derivative. So that is a connection between the derivative and the values of the function, and that is what we are going to use. So we are given that f prime of x is bigger than or equal to 0 at all points in the interval AB. So let us take 2 points x1 and x2 in the interval AB, such that x1 is less than x2. What we want to show? We want to show that the function is increasing, so we want to show f of x1 is less than or equal to f of x2. So let us apply Lagrange's mean value theorem in the interval x1 to x2. Because we want values, we want to compare the values between f of x1 and f of x2, and Lagrange's mean value theorem gives us fb minus f of a. So in this interval apply the Lagrange's mean value theorem, and they will give you that there is a point C, so that f of x2 minus f of x1 is f prime at C, some point C in the interval A1, x1 to x2 into x2 minus x1. So that relates the sign of fx1 with x2 minus x1, and we know derivative everywhere is bigger than or equal to 0, so that says f of x2 minus f of x1 has the same sign as x2 minus x1. So if x2 is bigger than x1, then f of x2 is bigger than or equal to f of x1. So that says that the function is increasing. So a straightforward simple application of Lagrange's mean value theorem, because that theorem relates the values at the endpoints, the difference of the values at the endpoints with a point in the derivative at a point in between. So that is the first part of the theorem, saying that if derivative is bigger than or equal to 0, then the function is monotonically increasing. And note in this thing also, supposing you have the derivative is strictly bigger than 0. Supposing the derivative, saying that Here we are saying f prime of c is bigger than or equal to 0. But supposing we know that f prime of c is strictly bigger than 0, then what you will get? You will get f of x2 will be strictly bigger than f of x1. So that same thing also proves that if f prime is strictly bigger than 0 in the interval a to b, then function is strictly increasing. Okay, so both things were the same. So it is strictly increasing. Let us prove the converse statement that we are given that the function is increasing and we want to look at the derivative. We are already given the function is differentiable. We only want to know the nature of the derivative in the interval a b. So for that, take any y belonging to xb. Okay, take any point x and y in the interval a b and look at the point y which is on the right side of x. So it is in the interval x to b. So we are looking at 2 points x and y, x less than y. So y is going to be in the interval x to b. So what are we given? We are given the function is monotonically increasing. So what can you say about f of y minus y, f of x? That is non-negative. Y minus x, that is non-zero, that is positive. So this is bigger than or equal to 0. And this happens for all points y in the interval x to b. Right? So I can now let y go to x. So we are coming from the right side. We are in the interval x to b. X is fixed. We are letting y go to. So let y go to x, and that gives you, when you are letting y go to x, you are looking at the right hand derivative. Right? But the function is given to be differentiable. So right hand derivative exists, that is equal to the derivative of the function, and because this quotient is always non-negative, the limit also is non-negative. So we are looking at the property of the function, that if a function has non-negative values, and the limit also is non-negative. By monotonicity, this is always non-negative for y bigger than x by the given property. So limit must be bigger than or equal to 0, which is the left hand derivative, which is same as the derivative of the function at that point. So monotonicity of the function implies that the derivative is bigger than or equal to 0. So we have proved both ways. If f is monotonically increasing, if and only if the derivative is bigger than or equal to 0, and if the derivative is strictly bigger than 0, then the function is strictly increasing. Right? So that completes the proof of part 1, and other parts are similar because we have only let us see for a change today. The yellow is the graph of the function, and orange or brown is the graph of the function derivative. Then you can see the property. Wherever f prime is bigger than 0, the function is strictly increasing, right? In the yellow portion it is decreasing. So it's self-explanatory, you can see. Okay? Quite clear? So this is increasing here, so the derivative is positive here. Okay? Similarly, here the function is decreasing now in this portion, so the derivative becomes negative. Okay? This is just to illustrate, just to keep to fix the idea in your mind. If you already have, I know the graphs of the function f and its derivative, there is no need to do all this analysis anyway. Right? The idea is, calculus says that if you don't know the graph of the function, how to draw the graph actually. Right? So these simple examples are only taken to illustrate the idea. Okay? Right. So let us come to some examples, which examples you have been doing left and right in your school and other things. So fx is this given function, derivative is 2 minus 4x. So you can analyze where the derivative is strictly bigger than 0, where it is less than 0. So that gives you the portion where the function will be increasing or decreasing. So it is bigger than or equal to 0 in the interval x less than or equal to half, and in the other portion it is less than or equal to 0. So you can say it is increasing in that interval and decreasing in that interval. Right? Straightforward application. So if you have a knowledge about the derivative, right, the nature of the derivative, the sign of the derivative, then you can have some conclusion about the function, whether it is increasing or decreasing. So that is the idea. Another example, when you should differentiate, you get minus 2x over this. So it's less than 0, bigger than 0 in the portions x bigger than 0, because this is always non-negative. So sign of a derivative is determined by the sign of x. There is already negative sign, so you get the conclusion. So increasing in that, and let us look at this function fx is equal to cos x into mod x. Now note that this function is not differentiable at the point x is equal to 0. It is continuous everywhere, but not differentiable. So let us look at the derivative in the portions where the function is differentiable. So for x less than 0, this is the derivative. For x bigger than 0, that is a derivative. So you can analyze whether this is positive or negative. Okay, so it is increasing in the interval minus infinity to 0, and I should put here actually open. This is a, okay, this should have been open here. Okay, right, and so this is simple illustrations of this idea that if the derivative is bigger than or equal to 0, that is if and only if the function is increasing, and if f prime of x is strictly bigger than 0, then the function is increasing, strictly increasing. Of course, you can ask whether that second condition, that f prime of x is strictly bigger than 0, implies f is strictly increasing. Is the converse of that statement true or not? The derivative is strictly bigger than 0, implies f is strictly increasing. Can you say the converse? If the function is strictly increasing, can you say the derivative is? So let us look at some examples. So if this is also another common mistake the students make, namely there is nothing called increasing or decreasing at a point. I have seen it very often, this mistake being made. Saying derivative is bigger than 0 in an interval implies property of the function in that interval. Saying a function has a derivative which is strictly bigger than 0 at a point, you cannot say that the function will be increasing in a neighborhood of that point, or if it is less than 0, the function will be monotonically decreasing in a neighborhood of. So let us give an example to illustrate this. So look at this example. F of x is equal to x square plus 2x if x is a irrational point in the interval minus 1 to 1, and it is 2x if x is rational in the interval minus 1 to plus 1. Okay? Is this function continuous at the point x is equal to 0? Just look at it. Yes, objective type question. Yes, continuous. Is it differentiable? Now less answers come now. Do you think it is differentiable? Yes. Now you take a minute and think. You want to analyze whether the function is differentiable at 0 or not. What is the value at 0? Value at 0 is 0 because that is a rational number. So f of x minus f of 0, either it will be x square plus 2x minus 0 or 2x minus 0 divided by x. When you divide by x, what happens? That gives you 2, this gives you also 2. Whether you go via rationals or irrationals does not matter. The limit exists of f of x minus f of 0 divided by x, limit x going to 0 exists. Okay, whichever route you go, whether by irrational or rational, does not matter, and the limit is equal to 2. So that the function is differentiable at the point x is equal to 0 and derivative is equal to 2. So that means derivative at the point c equal to 0 is positive. Now let us analyze the nature of this function in a neighborhood of 0. In a neighborhood of 0, can you say the function is increasing? In a neighborhood of 0, if it is irrational, the value is going to be this. And if it is rational, the value is going to be 2x. One is above, one is below, right? So the function is not going to be increasing or decreasing in a neighborhood of, right? The function fluctuates. X square plus 2x, 2x, x square plus 2x, 2x, x square plus 2x, 2x. However close you are to 0, right? You can always choose points where the value is x square plus 2x or the value is 2x. So the function is neither going to be increasing nor it is going to be decreasing in any neighborhood of the point x is equal to 0. Now the function is differentiable at the point x is equal to 0 and derivative is strictly bigger than 0. Okay? So this is not true. Let us look at the converse of the statement. If f prime is strictly bigger than 0, implies f is strictly increasing. This also need not hold. Okay. need not imply f prime is, okay, that f prime derivative will be strictly bigger than 0. Because in the limit you have seen for sequences also, like 1 over n, it is something similar happening. All the terms are bigger, but in the limit something can become equal to 0. So something similar happens. For example, simple example, you look at x cube, okay, the function f of x equal to x cube. So it is strictly increasing in every interval, right? F of x is equal to x cube. It is strictly increasing function, but derivative at 0 is equal to 0. You can't say the derivative is strictly bigger than 0 at every point. So the converse of the statement is not true. So this is the first observation that we had about the nature of increasing or decreasing. Conclusion can be drawn from the nature of the derivative being positive or negative, right? Now let us look at increasing and decreasing also gave us the notion of local maximum and local minimum. So we want to analyze conditions which will give us that a point is a point of local maximum or a point of local minimum, right? So what is the point of local maximum? A point C was called a point of local maximum if in a neighborhood f of C is bigger than or equal to f of x for all points in that neighborhood, right? So we want to now find test meaning sufficient conditions which will ensure that a point is a point of local maximum or a local minimum, right? So continuity test says look at a function in the interval a b and c is a point where we want to analyze and assume that the function is continuous at that point. Function is continuous at the point x is equal to c, okay, and at c we want to say that point is a point of local maximum or local minimum. Then what do we require? In a neighborhood, if you want a local maximum, that f of c should be bigger than or equal to f of x. How can we ensure that? Well, one way is that all the values of fx in a neighborhood of c remain below f of c, right? So if you can say that the function is increasing, if a function is increasing on the left of c and decreasing on the right of c in a neighborhood, if this property is true, that will ensure that f of x is always less than or equal to f of c in that neighborhood, right? So that is a sufficient condition. So the sufficient condition is that f is increasing in an interval c minus delta to c and it is decreasing in an interval on the right side c to c plus delta for some neighborhood, some delta bigger than 0, then it has a local maximum at that point. Intuitively quite clear to everybody? Yes? At c you want local maximum, so at every point nearby the value should be less. And I can ensure that by putting a condition that the function is increasing on the left, so the values always will stay below f of c on the left, right? It is decreasing on the right, so again the values will stay below f of c on the right. So that will ensure that the function has a local maximum. Where is continuity going to play a role? Because if the function is not continuous, then at that point you can go increasing, at that point lift your pen and put the value anywhere you like. Right? You can put the value anywhere. So if it is not continuous, then you can always construct functions where the function is increasing on the left, decreasing on the right, but at that point it is not a point of local maximum. Right? So continuity is required, and we will see how in the proof it is used. So corresponding statement for decreasing, f is decreasing in an interval on the left and it is increasing on the right, then it will have a local minimum at that point, the corresponding statement. So let us look at a proof. What we are given? We are given that the function is continuous. So continuity has to be used, right? So let us look at a point x less than y, okay? And so y is in the interval, look at the points x, y in the interval on the left of, we are given that the function is increasing on the left, right? Function is increasing on the left. So look at 2 points x and y on the left of c. So look at points x and y on the left of c. Let us say x is less than y. Then what do I know about fx and fy? Is increasing. So f of x is less than or equal to f of y. Now y is in this interval. I can let y go to c. So what do you get? So if I let y go to c, then using continuity, as y goes to c, f of y will go to f of c. So this value is equal to f of c. So f of x is less than or equal to f of c for every point on the left. That is by continuity. Right? Because I said, if it is continuous, you can approach the point C, but if the point C is not a point of continuity, then you can drop or change the value at that point. The limit on the left will not give you the value at the point C. So that is only by continuity. So what we are getting is, for x on the left of C, f of x is less than or equal to f of C. Same you can do on the right side of it. Again use continuity. So similarly, f of x is less than or equal to f of C for C on the right side. So that point says it is the point of local maximum for the function fx at the point x is equal to C, provided intuitively, geometrically, it's quite clear, it is increasing on the left, decreasing on the right, but you should have continuity at the point C. Right? So this is continuity which makes a thing work. That's why it is called continuity test for local maximum or local minimum. Right? Clear to everybody? So this is continuity test. So local maximum, similarly local minimum. So let us just a simple example to illustrate. Let us look at the function fx is equal to x square if between 0 and 1, and we put the value 1 minus x plus alpha for x bigger than or equal to 1. Right? So what should happen? X square on the left of 1. So what can you say about the function? Is it increasing or decreasing, x square? What about on the right? So if I want to apply continuity test, what condition I should apply? It should be continuous. For continuity, I know the value of alpha. Yes? So that is simple example. Right? So by first derivative test, I can say it will be having a local maximum at the point x is equal to 1, provided alpha is equal to 1. Yes?
Sir, one of the greater than equal to sign should be strictly greater.
Why?
I mean, if you don't
Here?
know.
If you don't know, okay. You want to make it more precise, so let me, okay, fine, good. Because this may give you, that is differently defined, for a function to be uniquely defined at every point, make one of them to be less than, that doesn't matter. Either this to be strictly less than 1 or this to be strictly bigger than 0. Sure, thank you. So let us make some remarks about, as I said, continuity is required for the sufficiency. If you drop continuity, then just saying that increasing on the left, decreasing on the right is not good enough to say function will have a local maximum or local minimum at that point. Okay? So I have just written one example. You can write thousands of examples for this. So very simple example. So let me show the picture that is more. So this is what I had in mind. You can write down the formula for that anyway. Right? At this point, this is a function going like this. There is a discontinuity. It starts again here. This is right. So at the point at x is equal to 1, you cannot say it is increasing here on the left, decreasing on the right, but you cannot say it is a local maximum or a local minimum. So that condition is. So this is when you had extra knowledge about the function, that the function is continuous at that point. Now let us go a step further. Not only you know that the function is continuous, you know something more, that the function actually is differentiable, and you have more information about the derivative of the function. Just now we proved a theorem that if a function is having derivative on the left and the derivative in that interval is bigger than or equal to 0, then the function is increasing, right? So we can use that now, couple it with the previous one, right? So replacing that the function is increasing on the left and decreasing on the right, we can write that condition in terms of the derivative now, right? If the derivative is bigger than or equal to 0 on the left, it is less than or equal to 0 on the right. That will imply by the previous theorem it is increasing on the left, decreasing on the right, and that will give you local maximum or local minimum at that point, right? So the continuity test coupled with the earlier one, we have the first derivative test. Suppose a function is given and it is continuous at the point C. We want to apply continuity test. Okay. Now only increasing and decreasing is interpreted in terms of the derivative. So put the condition that there is a neighborhood so that the derivative exists. We don't want differentiability at that point. We only want on the left of C the function should be increasing on the right of C, the function should be decreasing in the open interval. Only we want that, right? So we want only the condition that f prime exists in an open interval on the left and on the right, and we want on the left f prime of x is bigger than 0, bigger than or equal to 0. On the right it is less than or equal to 0. That will imply it is a point of local maximum. So f prime of x is bigger than or equal to 0 on the left, it is less than or equal to 0 on the right, and that implies it is a local maximum. Proof, obvious, we have already given the proof of this, because these derivative conditions in terms of the theorem that we proved derivative bigger than 0 implies, right? So this will imply function is increasing on the left, this will imply function is decreasing. Then by the continuity test we will have the point should be a point of local maximum. So there are only two crucial theorems. One, derivative bigger than or equal to 0 if and only if the function is increasing, and the continuity test. These two together give me the first derivative test. Similarly for the decreasing part, local minimum part, corresponding statement. So proof, as I said, these follow from the previous theorems. So let us, is it clear to everybody? Yes? Basic theorem is continuity, increasing on the left, decreasing on the right. Now you can interpret increasing on the left, decreasing on the right in terms of derivative to get first derivative test. So let us, as usual, we have riders, remarks to caution you that this is only a sufficient condition to ensure that you have local maximum or local minimum. And quite often the students, without bothering to look whether the function is differentiable or not, they just apply blindly. It's like to kill a fly, you can kill a fly with a small that swab, but they think they should have a AK-47 to kill a fly probably. So instead of just going by definition, so normally without bothering whether you have a AK-47 or not, whether the function is differentiable or not, whether second derivative exists or not, they blindly tend to apply the derivative tests for analyzing maxima minima. Whether they are applicable or not, they don't bother about that. And whether they are required also is not necessary, right? You see what is given to you, how you can prove it. If you required, you go to higher conditions or higher order tests and so on. So first derivative test, okay, the function need not be differentiable, as I said at that point. Only you require condition on the left as well as on the right. This only gives a sufficient, you can give examples. Another example to illustrate that function need not be differentiable, so that you can have your own examples. Look at the function fx is equal to x plus 2 into mod x. It is continuous everywhere and not differentiable at the point 0. You can analyze the derivative, okay, bigger than 0 on the left and less than 0 on the right. So this will be a point of local minimum for the function. Right? Differentiability is not required at that point for the first derivative test. Okay? If you have it, it doesn't matter. You are having something more. Now comes the second derivative test. Right? Now you see more and more knowledge is available about the function. First only continuity was known to me. Then I knew about the derivative, first derivative and some property about it. Now I know the function is also twice differentiable and I have some more information about it. Right? So second derivative test says, supposing the first derivative of the function exists, for a second derivative to exist at a point, keep in mind, the first derivative should exist in a neighborhood of that point. Then only second derivative will exist at that point. Right? So it says, the first derivative exists. At the point C, the first derivative is 0. It exists in a neighborhood. And the condition is second derivative exists and is less than or equal to 0. Then this is a point of local maximum. So this is called second derivative test for local maximum, and correspondingly there is a second derivative test for local minimum. First derivative at that point should be 0 if it exists. That has to be there. That was a necessary condition also, if you remember. That was the first thing we proved. That if a point is a point of local maximum or a local minimum and the function is differentiable at that point, then the derivative has to be 0. So if we are going to have a conclusion that the point is a point of local maximum or a local minimum, then it is necessary anyway. Right? So this condition has to be there to be sufficient also, that f prime at that point should be equal to 0. If your point is going to be a point of local maximum or minima, then the necessary condition ensures that you better assume this condition, otherwise the result is not going to be true. So the first derivative is 0, okay, and the second derivative at that point is less than 0. We want to say that the function has a local maximum at that point. Now let us see how do we start the proof. We have no knowledge about the first derivative except that it is 0. But we have this notion about the second derivative. The second derivative is less than 0. Right? So let us try to analyze what this condition means, second derivative equal to 0. So let us go to the definition of second derivative. Right? So to calculate second derivative, I look at the first derivative in that interval and look at f prime at x minus f at c divided by x minus c, the ratio, and try to take the limit that is given to be less than 0. Right? So look at the definition of second derivative. I am forced to start the proof only this way because this is the only thing known to me. So look at what this condition means. So let us look at that condition. So look at the first derivative and what we are given, that the second derivative is less than 0 at that point. So what does second derivative mean? It is limit of f prime x minus f prime c divided by x minus c, and that is less than 0. The limit of something is less than 0. Can you say about something about that function? Limit is strictly less than 0. Then what can you say about the function? How do you say that function? So let me call this whole thing, this depends on phi of x. It is a function phi of x, right? It depends on x. C is fixed. X goes to c, that limit is less than 0. So what can you say about phi x? Can you say something about phi x? Decreasing. Limit x going to c, phi x is less than 0. Limit is less than 0. The function should be in a neighborhood of that point. The function should be negative. So let us write that. So there is a delta. Say that thing is less than 0 for all x belonging to c minus delta prime 2 in a neighborhood of that point c. Right? That function should be less than 0. But I am given f prime of c is 0. So I put that value f prime of c is 0. So what does it give me? F prime of x divided by x minus c is less than 0. Now that gives you something about the sign of the first derivative. If x is bigger than c, then this quantity is positive. This is 0. And this divided by this is less than 0. That means f prime of x will be less than 0 if x is bigger than x minus c is bigger than 0. So let us write that simply. So it says f prime of x is less than f prime of c if x is bigger than c, and similarly. And what does it? F prime of x less than 0 for x bigger than c, f prime of x. Right? Now I can apply the first derivative test to conclude that the function has a local maximum. So the basic idea is second derivative equal to is positive or negative, right? Analyze what does it mean by definition of that. That is the limit of the first derivative, the ratio of the first derivative, right? And if that limit is less than 0 or bigger than 0, that gives you that the function should be less than 0 or bigger than 0, right? Use that, that's all, okay? So that gives you by the first derivative test that the function should have a local maximum at that point. So what we have gotten is, let us just recall what we have gotten is 3 tests. One is the continuity test, other is the first derivative test, second is the second derivative test. Continuity test says that the function should be continuous at that point, increasing on the left, decreasing on the right, then there is a local maximum at that point. That increasing and decreasing you can write in terms of the first derivative. So function is continuous at that point, that stays still, that condition still stays, right? Increasing, you write in terms of first derivative is bigger than positive, non-negative, bigger than or equal to 0. On the right it is less than or equal to 0, right? The third test is the second derivative test, where you want to say something about the knowledge about second derivative, right? And you want to conclude first derivative for the first derivative test, function need not be differentiable at that point. So keep that in mind. So we have no conclusion, no condition on the derivative at that point, because the function may not be differentiable at that point. But in the second derivative test, when you want to put some condition on the second derivative at that point, then the first derivative has to exist at that point. And not only it has to exist, it should exist in a neighborhood of that point. And you want to have a conclusion that that point is a point of local maximum or local minimum, then automatically a necessary condition comes that the derivative must be equal to 0. Right? So when you want to state a sufficient condition, this condition you have to include in your statement that the first derivative exists in a neighborhood, and at that point the first derivative is equal to 0. Now you say something about the second derivative. If second derivative is less than 0, then it is a local maximum. If the second derivative is bigger than 0, then it is a local minimum. And the proof, because you are forced to look at the proof only in one way, because the only condition given to you is about the second derivative, nature of the second derivative. So analyze the definition of the derivative, that is second derivative is derivative of the derivative. That bigger than 0 or less than 0 gives you about the quotient of the first derivative, right, f prime at x minus f prime at c divided by x minus c, to be positive or negative in a neighborhood of the point c. And that gives you the sign of the first derivative. And now apply the first derivative test to conclude the second derivative test. Right? So what should be your process of finding points of local maxima minima? Let us put together all the things we know. Necessary condition says the first derivative must be equal to 0. If the function is differentiable, function may not be differentiable at that point, first of all. And that point C is an interior point for the interval. Keep that also in mind. C was inside the open interval AB, and a point of local maxima minima implies f prime at C equal to 0. Right? C has to be an interior point, and if it is differentiable, derivative equal to 0. So the possibilities are look at the interior points of your domain of your function, and look at the points where the function is differentiable and derivative equal to 0. Those are possibly some of the points of local maxima and local minima. What are the things we have excluded? We have excluded the points where the function is probably not differentiable. Local maxima minima can come there also. And the points which are not interior points. So the points which are endpoints of the intervals. So we get a big group of set of points where possibly the function can have local maxima or local minima. There are three types of points. One, interior points. Function is differentiable, derivative equal to 0. First category. Second category, the points where the function is not differentiable. Interior points, but the function is not differentiable. End points of the intervals probably, if the domain is a closed interval or includes end points. So at all these 3 points, you have to analyze, these are the possible candidates for local maxima minima. Only possible. It is not necessary that each point is a point of local maxima or local minima. Just now we gave the condition example, fx is equal to x cube, right? Fx is equal to x cube. The derivative is 0 at the point 0, right? Function is differentiable at an interior point. X is equal to 0. Derivative is 0, but it has no local maxima or local minima at that point, right? So at all these points, analyze by all the tests, right? Depending on whether which is applicable, which is not applicable, and decide whether the point is a point of local maxima, local minima, or none probably, right? So these are the ways of analyzing. Those will come from calculus, the tools of calculus. So endpoints of the closed intervals, if any, points at which function is not differentiable, interior points where the derivative is equal to 0. So these are the points of 3 category. Namely, a name is given to the points of the second and third, the points where the derivative is equal to 0, or the points where the function is not differentiable. Those points are normally called critical points. Other than the end points, right, other possible candidates are called critical points for the function. Okay, so let us look at some examples. I think computational you are all quite expert, I know that. So let us points of non-differentiability for this function power 2 by 3 is coming. So at x is equal to x square equal to 4 equal to 0. So plus minus 2 are the points where the function is not differentiable. So two possible candidates for local maximum minima. Look at the points which are other than plus minus 2 and let us look at the derivative equal to 0. That gives you x is equal to 0. So the possible candidates, critical points are 0 and plus minus 2. So at these points now we have to analyze. So in the interval, let us look at minus 2, minus infinity to 2 and 0 to 2. Analyze the nature of first derivative exists, second derivative exists, so I can apply the first derivative test. Look at the first derivative in this portion, that is come out less than 0 because of the condition on x, and similarly the function is decreasing in this interval, similarly it is increasing on the other side of this. So you can conclude that the function is increasing in this, and so the point x is equal to 0 is the local maximum, point 0 plus minus 2 are points of. So we are looking at separately, okay, the point 0, which was the point, the whole example the only thing to be noted is the point, right, where it is not differentiable, right, you should not be trying to apply that derivative test there. Apply derivative test with suitable perspective that at the point 2 it is not differentiable, but on left of 2 and on the right of 2 function is differentiable. So I can look at the derivative on the left of 2 and right of 2 and decide, if I can decide whether the nature of the function, whether derivative is positive or negative, increasing or decreasing. Okay, so that is one example. Let us look at x sine. Okay, I think I went very fast. The function is x plus sine x. We want to analyze whether it has a local maxima, local minima anywhere or not. So let us look at differentiable everywhere, so no problem, no endpoints, nothing. Only possibilities are the points where derivative is equal to 0. So let us look at the points where the derivative is equal to 0. Derivative is this, 1 plus cos x, right? So these are the critical points. Cos x is equal to minus 1. Enough points are there. But at these points, is it local maxima or local minima? So what you will do, probably you will go to second derivative test and try to apply it. But there is no need, because look at the first derivative, 1 plus cos x. Can you say something about the nature of the first derivative by looking at it? Right? There is always, so function is everywhere increasing. And if a function is everywhere increasing, no question of it having local maxima or local minima. Now all these points are the points where derivative is equal to 0. None of them is a point of local maxima or local minima. The function is everywhere increasing. Okay? The points where the derivative is becoming 0, those are the points where tangent is becoming horizontal. Right? It's like y equal to x cube. At 0, right, tangent is horizontal. So something similar is happening at these points. So it is everywhere increasing. Now once you have analyzed local maxima minima, okay, that gives us a method of finding global maxima and global minima for functions. Because absolute maxima or global maximum or global minimum is also a local maximum and local minimum if they are interior points or endpoints with intervals around them. Right? So once you have located your points of local maxima minima and you have located the points endpoints, you have located the point where the function is not differentiable. To find absolute maxima or minima, what should we do? Just find the values at all such points. Right? These are the possible candidates and see which is the largest value, which is the smallest value. But you have to justify first that the function has a global maximum and a global minimum. It may not have at all. So there the continuity test sometimes helps. If function is continuous on a closed bounded interval, then you are assured that there is a point of there is a point of global maximum and point of global minimum. How to find? Then you can go to these tests and so on. So let us just define global maximum once again. Intuitively very clear. A point C1 is called a global maximum if f of C1 is bigger than or equal to fx for all x in that interval. Similarly, and the value f of C1 is called absolute maxima for the function. And similarly, absolute minimum, and the value f of C2 is called the absolute minimum. Okay, I think let us have a break. If you don't like the commercial breaks, we'll stop commercial breaks next time onwards, no problem. Okay? But it helps you to slow down, for you to understand, and just for a change. So, and it helps you to fix down the ideas also. Okay. So I think let us go ahead. So as I said, to find absolute maximum and absolute minimum for a function, the points where this will happen is the points which are either the end points or the interior points where the derivative does not exist, or the points where derivative exists and is equal to 0. Locate all such points, find the values of the function at these points and compare. So the theorem only says this in words, says that if f is continuous, then we know it assumes maximum and the minimum, absolute maximum and the minimum at some points, and those points are possibly the points which are either the critical points or the end points of that interval. Okay, the proof is obvious, because if they are not, because absolute maximum, if it is not the end point, it is not the point where function is differentiable, absolute maxima is also a point of local maxima, then the derivative must be equal to 0. Only these possibilities are there. So the proof is obvious that if you have C1 and C2 are absolute minimum, absolute maximum, then either they will be the interior points or they will be the end points, and accordingly you write down. Okay? It's not differentiable. If it is differentiable, then it is local, so it must be equal to 0. So, right, whatever I have said, I explained, I am just writing it again, so that you know how to write things also. Okay? It's not just waving hands and saying orally things work, because exam means writing down on piece of paper. Okay. Let us just look at one or two examples. You already know. Fx is equal to minus x, if this is the condition and this is the condition. So find out it is not differentiable at the point 0, because the left hand derivative is not equal to right hand derivative. Okay? Check. Derivative on the left, I can find out the derivative. On the right, I can find out the derivative. I can analyze the notion of whether derivative is positive, negative, and so on. Points of local maxima, if you want all derivative equal to 0. For absolute maxima, we have to put only derivative equal to 0. So it only gives you x is equal to 1. Okay. So these are the critical points. Find the values at the critical points. Minus 1, 0, plus 1 and 2. Find the values. Compare 1, 0, 2, 0. So 2 is the largest value and 0 is the smallest value. So absolute maximum, absolute minimum. Now let us look at a function like this. Mod of x minus x square, x belonging to minus 2 to 2. For such kind of functions, normally, because there is the absolute value coming, the function is different when something is positive, something negative, because absolute value changes, right? So when the quantity inside whose absolute value you are taking, if this is positive or negative, the sign of that will depend on what is your function. So write it. So the function, anyway, it is a continuous function everywhere. So it will have maximum and minimum. Okay. So find out the regions where you can say the quantity inside the absolute value, x into y minus x is bigger than 0 and less than 0. So your function behaves differently. The formula is different. So it comes out it is x into 1 minus x. If x is between 0 and 1, everywhere else the function is given by this. So now you know that the point 0 and 1 are going to be points of trouble, right? Those are the points which are going to be critical points anyway. So analyze that. So derivative at the non-differentiability at 0 and 1, you can check that. Derivative equal to 0, right? In that portion or that portion gives you x is equal to. So these are the, I think there is something wrong here probably. Anyway, so maybe arithmetical mistake. But the process, points of non-differentiability, points where the derivative is equal to 0, find the values at those points and say which is absolute maximum and absolute minimum. Okay. There is a point at half where you don't know. You say it's not a point of absolute maximum or minimum because the function is differentiable at that point. Second derivative also exists. You can apply, if you like, second derivative test to analyze what kind of function, what kind of a point x is equal to half is. So second derivative gives you less than 0, so it is a point of local maximum at that point. Probably, even if a function is continuous and has a global maximum or a global minimum, it is not necessary that f should be. This is also another very common mistake that students make. If there is a point of local or global maximum at a point, right, of course the function should be below the value on the left and below the value on the right, but it is not necessary the function should be increasing on the left and decreasing on the right. Very crucial, you should note down. To say it is a point of local maximum, the value at a point nearby on the left should be less, on the right also it should be less. It does not mean the function should be increasing on the left and decreasing. Increasing and decreasing does imply that anyway, but that is not necessary. So at a point, if it is a point of local or global maximum, in a neighborhood of that point, function need not be increasing or decreasing at all, which is a very common mistake made by students. So let me just show you a graph. Look at such a graph. Can you recognize what is this graph? There is no e to the power or something. Basically, I am looking at sine 1 over x. Look at the function sine 1 over x. The graph goes up and down and cramped near 0, right? And bind it, instead of between minus 1 and 1, bind it between y equal to x. X sine 1 over x. That graph we have seen. Now, cut that graph whenever it goes above, put it below. Take the absolute value. And with a minus sign, so it comes below, right? Cut the graph and put it below. So it is graph of minus absolute value x sine 1 over x. Okay? Why I am taking such a graph? Because look at the point 0. Point 0 is a point of global maximum, right? X sine 1 over x, limit x going to 0 exists, that is equal to 0, right? Function is continuous at the point 0. The value at 0 is 0. It is a global maximum for the function. But look at the neighborhood of this point 0. Can you say the function is increasing on the left of it? But every point close to 0, the function it touches the line y equal to x and also touches the x-axis as close as you want. It goes up and down. As close as to 0 you want. To close to 0, it takes both the value 0 as well as a negative value. Same on the right side. As close as you want it. So in no neighborhood of the point 0, you can say on the left the function is increasing and on the right the function is decreasing, even though the function has a global maximum at that point. So the graph need not look like, for a point of local maximum, graph need not look like a nice one going like this. It can wave and go there also, right? But the value should remain. Local maximum only says the value remains below the value of the function at that point, nothing more than that, right? So be careful. So this is the function I had in mind. So it has a local. Okay, I think this is the time to stop today.